I have no idea where Seffner, Florida is, but we see that Jaylen Waters is a top 250 player, according to 247, top 150 player, according to the composite. So some other services like him even better at 6'1", 170.
Yeah, Seffner is just outside of the Tampa area, so on that side of the state. Did a video breaking down him and his commitment. But yeah, there like some debate on his quick cut highlights. He listed himself as 6'2", 175, but he's tall, long. He's an elite player. He's, I think he's listed right now as like the number 15 cornerback in the country. I think he's closer to like the number 5 corner than he is like the number 15. So even if he was somewhere in the, 6, 7, 8, in the country, I think that he's more of that. Also, Ian Coleman, just going back, Jakari Brown wore 11 also. Duh. What can Brown do for you? So basically, this is a time where y'all caught me. I said something and was dead behind wrong about nobody wearing number 11 at quarterback since Ken Dorsey. My bad. Anyway, yeah, seatbelt is Jaylen Waters' nickname because, they can't do the throat slash anymore. So they've taken to do that like, you're locked up and everything. But yeah, this is a kid who has the build and size of a corner a prototypical corner. You have at every position, especially on defense, you have guys who fit the stereotype physically. So you have fewer 5'9" corners and 5'10" defensive tackles and 6'2" offensive tackles. Like, you don't have those anymore. You got 6'6", 6'8" tackles. You got 6'4", 6'5" defensive tackles. You got 6'2" corners. You know what I mean? You're building those position groups to what you would consider a Nick Saban Alabama standard, a Georgia standard. Like, when you think of like a pro-sized college team, we're starting to look like that. And Jaylen Waters is the next iteration of that. Mr. HD saying seatbelt will end up as a 5-star. Very, very possible. This is a kid, 6'2", with a positive wingspan. You can just see him standing there like he has long, long arms. Like, I'm 6 feet tall with a 6'5" or 6'4.5" wingspan. Like, I have that positive wingspan also. So like, looking at my own body, I can look at somebody else and be like, oh, cool. It's just how I'm built. You know what I mean? So you can see that. This is a kid who's great in coverage, plays a lot of man in high school, which went through probably half of his highlight tape, and he's lockdown. He's great at pattern matching. He has good ball skills, not perfect. He dropped an interception that was pretty much thrown right at him on one play and everything. So I get that you have those things. A longtime journalist friend of mine at South Florida Express tryouts one year when I was really starting to get into recruiting coverage and blogging and everything. And he was just starting out his career after he graduated from J school. He was like, cool. So as you look at certain drills, D1 players don't drop that ball. So if like the drill, like the DB start on the sideline, backpedal on the angle, come forward, backpedal on the angle, come forward, backpedal on the angle, and then on the last one they throw them the ball is just like a simple thing, and on the last part before they go to the sideline. I remember that one like it was yesterday. I remember Andrew Ivins was there. It was a couple other people, and we're all standing there, and they were like, cool. So these are the things you look at. Say a D1 player doesn't drop that, and if he drops that, maybe, okay, cool. If he drops it twice during this warm-up, you can say that he's going to be a 3-star maximum. He's not really going to be a blue-chip player, right? And I don't want to say that Jaylen Waters fits that, but him dropping that one ball, like, made me think of that because, like, that was a gimme. Like, you got to have that. But then you also look at all the other interceptions that he makes and all the great coverage that he had. You're like, okay, he has this, elite profile and, performance, so it goes with that. Jaylen Waters, teammates with Kellen Wiley and Gerard Pringle at Seffner Armwood last year, a team that got to the regional final in FHSAA, I think the 3A playoffs, or I don't even know what the darn classifications are, but whatever. It's one of the bigger classifications. They got there and did that. He's the second corner in this class with Camden Portis, yes, son of Clinton Portis from Charlotte Myers Park High School. So you have 2 blue chips there. He's coming in right now as the second highest rated recruit in this class with potential to end up as a 5-star. So does Jordan Campbell, the linebacker from Carroll City. And it's a big recruiting win. He's I think that there is another player who this happened with, but at least recently, Jaylen Waters is the first player to be committed to all three: Florida State, then Florida, then Miami, in that specific order. Miami was already trending in his recruitment before Will Harris left Gainesville to come to Coral Gables. But when that happened, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is definitely, set it in stone, set it and forget it. This is going to happen. And it finally did on Friday at the end of an unofficial visit day. So the last two commits last week both came on unofficial visits. Ben Congdon on Monday, Jaylen Waters on a Friday. And so, we're up to 5 commitments in this class. There's definitely a momentum with plenty of other guys. They're getting tons and tons and tons of elite recruits on campus through the spring and going into official visit season. So it'll be very interesting to see how things continue. But yeah, as I said before, I think that Miami is doing the internal machinations of their recruiting processes have been updated slightly, and the early returns are positive on that, which is something that I needed to see, because the end of the overall, the 2025 recruiting class left a little bit to be desired. Even with some of the top end players looking like top end players, there just could have been more of them, and we're starting out in that kind of pursuit for 26.
Cam hit on Wesley Basaint, which kind of leads us into the continuation of what Paolo would like to hear, and that's any word on the linebacking core and any standouts.
Yeah, they're just going through everything. Haven't heard too much about the linebackers. I know Raul Aguirre switched his number to 10. He's been showing his elite physicality, on the field, which is something that, you saw last year. That's why he was the first guy off the bench, all year long. Jalen Alderman, I think, is kind of in your Corey Flagg, Trent Harris, not the most explosive athlete, but very consistent in, his performance, doing your job. And you need people sometimes, you just need guys to do their job. And that's what I loved about Trent Harris, because no matter what, when he was here, trusty Trent, you could set it and forget it, man. Like, if he had an assignment on a play, that's what he was going to do. And it saved Miami in so many different instances. I think, we've seen Adarius Hayes actually had getting some early returns, some good comments from the first and second day. Birdstone and Lightbody in there. Wesley's playing both linebacker positions, so Mike and Sam. And Chase Smith, is a guy, who's battled some injuries in his career. And boy, you talk about a wingspan. This is a guy with, he's 6'3" with like a 7-foot wingspan. He's like all arms. It's crazy. But yeah, he's trying to find a way to have a role on this defense. And as a fifth-year senior and a Miami legacy, I think that it's there for him. Excited to see what Cameron Bobby Pruitt and a Bobby Washington are able to do also, because they're like super duper athletic guys. And, for years I've maligned the athleticism at the linebacker position for Miami. I think that we're in a much, much, much better place in terms of that athleticism. We just need to move it forward. And no, Kenson, we don't have a baby Greg Rousseau on the roster right now. But shout out to Greg Rousseau, the former high school wide receiver who just got an extension in Buffalo, 4 years, and I forget the number, but yeah, he made a bunch of money. Braxton Berrios just got paid, I saw earlier today, and things like that. Yeah, man, we'll Procane's still getting paid, and hopefully, we'll have even more going into those ranks in a little bit. Luca Gilbert, the tight end, has been surprised. 6'7", 250 is more athletic than most thought. Brock Schott and Luke look a promising duo at tight end. Yeah, I'm higher on, or as a recruit coming out, I was higher on Brock Schott than Luca Gilbert, but Luca Gilbert has just been making play after play after play after play, through the first week of spring practice. And I mean, he is a measure larger. I mean, Brock Schott 6'4", 240 versus like 6'7", 255. There's a demonstrable difference there. So, and that's not even bringing into the fact of Elijah Lofton, who Swiss Army knife, running back, tight end, fullback, slot receiver, outside receiver, wherever you can play him as an offensive weapon. But yeah, you look at Brock Schott and Luca Gilbert definitely doing well for themselves through the first week of spring practice. Not sure it was asked, how are you feeling about the DC hire? And we'll be able to not let Duke score 35. Feeling great about the defensive coordinator hire in Corey Hetherman. Early returns are great. He's teaching, developing, simplifying things. And I think you saw some of the cerebral nature of players last year, which when you're thinking too much, you're playing slow. And that got Miami in so many different things. Bad positions defensively in 2015. And you have guys like, Justin Scott said, the terminology is much easier to understand, digest, and then it just lets us go play free. So early returns, good. Let's see what happens on the recruiting trail and development, especially at linebacker, since he is coaching linebackers, which is a position that he has coached multiple times in multiple places, Rutgers, Minnesota, and then previously at James Madison, excuse me. So yeah, very excited about it. And then there were a couple fluky plays in Duke scoring 35, but we also scored like 60 in that game last year. But I mean, we kind of had to. But yeah, hopefully able to lock that down more than we saw.